Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever looked at ancient rituals and just wondered, what does this have to do with me today? Well, we're about to crack the code on one of the most mysterious practices out there, the sacrifices from the book of Leviticus. We're going to see how these seemingly bizarre rules might actually hold an incredibly powerful spiritual message for all of us.
I mean, when you first open Leviticus, it's easy to get lost. All these rules about flour and oil and different animals, it can feel really distant and, frankly, a little weird. But what if it's not just a dusty old rule book? What if it's a symbolic code, a kind of spiritual blueprint, just waiting for us to unlock it?
And that's it. That's the key right there. The whole idea we're exploring is that these physical acts were never really about the objects themselves. They were allegories, living, breathing symbols that pointed to much deeper, invisible spiritual truths. So let's do it. Let's start decoding this spiritual blueprint. We're going to break down the symbols, piece by piece, so we can really get a handle on the spiritual reality they're trying to show us. And we're going to start with the most basic building blocks. Okay, think of this part as our decoder ring. You can't read a secret message without knowing what the symbols mean, right? To get this, we have to learn the language of the core ingredients, starting with something as simple as a grain offering. So, first up, flour. And notice, it's not just a handful of wheat. It's fine flour. It's been ground down, refined, worked over. This represents a teaching, a sermon, a message from the scriptures that has been really studied and carefully prepared, not something you just wing on the spot. Next, you mix oil into that flour. What's the oil? It's that spiritual insight. It's that aha moment of wisdom and understanding that you apply to the teaching. You know, the oil is what takes the prepared flour and makes it come alive, makes it relevant and digestible for people. And finally, frankincense was put on top. This beautiful, fragrant resin stands for our prayers, our personal connection and conversation with God. It's the element of personal devotion that seasons the whole thing, making the entire offering complete, something pleasing to God. But, what was included is only half the story. It's just as important to look at what was absolutely forbidden. Leaven, or yeast, was a big no-no on the altar. Why? Because it symbolized hypocrisy and malice. The teaching had to be pure and sincere. Honey was also banned because its sweetness represented flattery and pride, a powerful reminder that the offering is about God's glory, not our own. Now, this whole allegory goes so much deeper than just the ingredients. The way the offering was prepared and what else was brought with it, well, that's what connects these ancient ideas directly to our modern lives and experiences. For example, an offering baked in an oven symbolized the teaching that was forged in the oven of affliction, those deep, prolonged hardships that really test you. But one fried on a griddle? That represented wisdom that came from the fire of more immediate, personal problems. The point is, the offering wasn't just theory. It was truth that had been tested by real life. And get this, even the animal that was offered told a story about the spiritual maturity of the person bringing it. A lamb, for instance, represented a beginner's fresh, maybe foundational understanding. A ram signified a teacher, someone who could offer deeper instruction. And a bull, that symbolized an elder, someone offering that profound wisdom that only comes with a lifetime of experience. So we've decoded the ingredients, we've decoded the offerings. Now let's go to the main stage for this whole thing, the altar itself. This wasn't just a pile of stones and fire. It was this incredibly powerful symbol of total surrender. Okay, this is one of the most fascinating details. You see the wood being placed on the altar fire? You'd naturally assume that's the fuel, right? Well, according to this interpretation, it wasn't. That wood represented our yokes, our burdens, our problems, our sicknesses. It was what we were surrendering to God to be completely consumed and taken away. So if the wood wasn't the fuel, what kept the fire going? Well, the fire itself, which was commanded to never go out, symbolized the Holy Spirit. And what fueled it? The real sacrifices, our offerings of prepared teaching, our spiritual revelations, and our joyful praise. In this picture, our worship is what fuels the divine fire, not our problems. This brings us to a really crucial and honestly an often misunderstood part of this whole ritual. When an animal was brought to be sacrificed, who was the one responsible for ending its life? The automatic assumption for most of us is the priest, right? Nope. It was the person who brought the offering. The individual worshiper was personally responsible for killing the animal. The priest would help with the rest of the ceremony, sure, but that moment, that act of death, was a personal responsibility. And that brings this whole allegory into crystal clear focus. The physical act was pointing directly to a profound spiritual one. We are the ones who have to take responsibility for putting to death our old self, all the destructive, earthly parts of our nature. It's not something anyone else can do for us.
So, let's pull all these threads together now. We've seen how every single element, from a pinch of flour to the eternal fire, was just packed with meaning. This was never just a blueprint for external actions. It was always meant to be a map for our internal, spiritual lives.
Ultimately, this whole complex, detailed system was, as the Bible itself calls it, a shadow of heavenly things. It was a physical drama playing out on earth, designed to teach us these invisible spiritual truths about preparation, prayer, surrender, and our own personal responsibility.
And this wasn't some new idea that came along later. Even way back in the Old Testament, the prophet Hosea was getting right to the heart of it. The ultimate goal was never just the ritual for the ritual's sake. God's desire has always been for a real relationship, for mercy, and for us to truly know Him, not just to go through the motions.
And that really brings us to the final, crucial question for you and me. If this ancient system is a timeless allegory for our spiritual lives, then what are we offering on our own personal altars today? Is it a well-prepared teaching? Is it wisdom we've gained through our trials? Is it a life that's been fully surrendered? Thank you for watching.